Hey everyone, Dave Tama here, and today I'm going to be talking about the Clear Lake murders. And as you can see, I've gotten some new audio equipment, so hopefully these videos will start sounding a lot better for y'all. And recently I put up a poll on my Instagram asking everyone what murder case or what filming locations I should put out. And most people voted for the Clear Lake murders case, so let's take a look at it. Clear Lake is a small, quiet community southeast of Houston, Texas, right near the NASA Houston Space Center. And now, so this case actually revolves around a few high school friends, one of them being Christine Paolila. She was born on March 31st, 1986, to Lori and Charles Paolila. So Christine would lose her father actually due to a construction accident while he was on the job while she was only 2 years old at the time. And Lori began actually using drugs after her husband's death and would ultimately lose custody of her children. And Christine would actually end up being raised for a while by her grandparents. And at that time, she was diagnosed with what they call alopecia when she was just in kindergarten. And so, as a result, she would begin losing her hair on her head, the hair on her eyebrows, and even her eyelashes. And of course, you know how kids are. Whenever you're in school, she was picked on because of the wigs that she would have to wear and also the very thick glasses that she needed to see. And many years later, Christine would reunite with her mother as a teenager. Her mother had gotten clean and everything, so they would actually move to Clear Lake, where she would attend the Clear Lake High School. And now she was befriended by a couple of other girls that were very popular amongst the student body there, and one of them being Rachel Colorutis, who was involved in acting in the drama club, and the other person being Tiffany Rowell. So the two girls would actually help Christine work on her looks and help boost her self confidence, so much so that in 2003 she would be named Miss Irresistible by the student body. And now that same year, she would begin dating a guy named Christopher Lee Snyder, who looked like any typical young guy in the early 2000s. I mean, just look at him. And Christine's family and friends would actually disapprove of the relationship with Snyder because of his drug addiction and his past criminal history, which he would begin using drugs and become addicted as well. Christine following in the same path. Um, they had a very tumultuous relationship. Snyder would often try to keep her away from her family and her friends. Lori, Christine's mother, would tell the others that her daughter indicated that she had been raped and beaten by Snyder. And so the guy was just a real piece of shit, if you ask me. But at the same time, Christine was a little crazy herself. She was just really super jealous when it came to her boyfriend because, after all, with having alopecia and all this, she had really big insecurities and was just super controlling and, jealous. So there was reports of Snyder's family actually telling authorities that there was a time where they kind of got into it and they kicked Christine out of the house, and she actually just stayed on the lawn all night and was just threatening to kill the whole family, which is, like I said, pretty crazy. So, and around that same time, she'd begin dating Marcus Priscilla, who was a known drug dealer around the Clear Lake. The two would host parties at Tiffanys House regularly because her parents would basically leave the house to herself, and there was hardly ever any adult figures there. And one of the people that would frequent the house would be Marcus Priscilla's cousin, Adelbert Sanchez. Sanchez had moved to Clear Lake to get away from the violence in his neighborhood, and he also had a very troubled past, so he'd only been in the area for maybe like a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks. And on the night of July 18th, 2003, the cops were called to Tiffanys House, which was located at 3706 Millbridge Lane. Some of the regular partygoers that would often go to Tiffanys House were the ones that called the cops that night, because when they showed up, they found Rachel, Tiffany, Adelbert, and Marcus all shot to death. Rachel's dad would actually rush to the house that night because they had seen a news report about these shootings. And the video of him arriving is just really heartbreaking, as you can see.
Sir, step beyond that white line and go to jail right now. Alright? Please, man. I know. Oh, I know. Please.
Tiffany and Adelbert's bodies were found in a position that told the investigators that they seemed to be just relaxing on the couch watching TV, as if the two weren't alarmed by whoever was in the house. Rachel's body was found face down, and it seemed as if she was trying to call 911 from her cell phone, while Marcus's body was found lying on the backside of the couch. And police had no solid leads, but they believed the killings were drug related because nothing else had been taken other than the drugs. Police came to the conclusion that the murders had been done by a couple of people that the victims knew, because there was no forced entry, and there was also 2 types of bullets found at the scene. They would eventually also release sketches of a couple of suspicious people that were walking around the neighborhood that day, and the sketches would go on to be posted all around town on billboards and anywhere else you could think of. And eventually tips would come in, but no arrests were ever made, and the case would begin to grow cold, as would Christine's relationship with Snyder. The two called it quits in 2004 after he was sent to jail for car theft in Kentucky, and Christine would move on to rehab in Kerrville, Texas, where she would meet another heroin user by the name of Justin Rott. And the two would marry in early 2005, around the time that Christine had come into a large amount of trust fund money that her father had left behind for her. And later that year, in July, she had seen a television newscast on the unsolved case of her former friends, and she had become so emotional over it that she confessed to being a part of the murders to her husband, Justin. And as a result, the couple would go into hiding at a hotel in San Antonio for about 8 months, where they would constantly shoot heroin and cocaine. And on July 8th, 2006, Justin would tip off the police anonymously about his wife's involvement in the murders back in Clear Lake, and she would soon after be arrested on July 19th. Justin Rott would also go to jail for having drugs in that hotel room, and would later confess that it was him that actually called in the tip about his wife. Now, when Christine was interrogated, she would put all of the blame on her ex, Chris Snyder, who had since moved to Greenville, South Carolina, and one of his family members would eventually warn him about the warrant that they had out for his arrest, and subsequently Snyder would commit suicide by overdosing on prescription medication. And on October 18th, 2008, Christine Paolillo was convicted of 4 counts of capital murder and was sentenced to life in prison. And fast forward to 2022, she is serving out her time in the Crane unit in Gatesville, Texas, where she'll be eligible for parole in 2046 when she is age 60. And I wanted to end this video actually by remembering the victims who all lost their lives way too early. And so I decided to stop by all of their respective graves. Rachel, Tiffany, and Marcus are all buried here at the Forest Park East Cemetery in Webster, Texas, which is basically Clear Lake, and it's just right off of 45. And Rachel is in section 211. So when you find 211, you'll walk straight back, and you'll go to the second to last row down here. It's just a row away from the water, and that's in the back of this section. It's a pretty nice headstone for her. In 216D, Tiffany and Marcus are actually both buried here, as fate would have it, I guess. So you would walk up this walkway here, then turn left, and going down this walkway to the right, you'll see Tiffany's grave here. She's buried next to a family member. I think her name was Sally Rowell. And so yeah, it's a pretty nice gravestone here. And then you'll turn back around to get to Marcus's grave, and you'll go down back this way for a little while, and then you'll turn left up here. And after you take a left, you go all the way down here, and then you'll go right, and then her headstone's here on the left. So as you can see, it's right here by the water, and here's his grave. Now, Adelbert is actually buried on the opposite side of Houston, the northeast part, at a cemetery called Brookside Memorial Park. Here's his plot. And then on the other side over here is his stone, which has been decorated recently by, I guess, friends or family members. He would have had a birthday recently. And it's pretty cool. You can open up this little thing here and you can see a picture of him. And I just want to say, rest in peace to all the victims who died young. But there you have it. It's a pretty fucked up case about, jealousy, rage, drug addiction, and it's just really sad and unfortunate that a lot of young people lost their lives like that. But yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel here and follow me on Instagram at Here's Two with Dave Tama. Here's Two as in the number 2. You don't have to spell it out. So Here's Two with Dave Tama. I'll put the link below, and I'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.